Hi there, my name's Sean, and I want to talk about Rocko's Modern Life. Today, we're dialing back the clocks and revisiting the segment that started it all with Trasho Madness. Now, Trasho Madness is unique for several reasons, but addressing the steer in the room, the most notable is that there are two different versions of this episode. The original pilot, animated and produced in 1992, had half of the episode animated by Joe Murray himself, and the rest by his very talented team of animators and assistants. Fun fact, this would end up being the only episode of Rocko's Modern Life to be animated entirely in the United States. Every episode after this one would be outsourced overseas, and even the new scenes added to the broadcast version of this episode were animated overseas as well. And the production behind the pilot was every bit as scrappy as you'd expect for an indie project masquerading as a network pilot. When the schedule started slipping, Joe Murray, Nick Jennings, and George Maestri modified a 35mm camera to shoot film at night so that they could stay on top of their schedule. A motel room near the studio kept the crew rotating through shifts to sleep and shower. And apparently the police even stopped by on more than one occasion because of how much noise the studio was making at night. The pilot version itself opens with a photo album montage of Rocko through the years. Features original music by Marshall Crutcher and, of course, Rocko in his original jaundiced yellow hue. Rocko's color would end up shifting to a less yellow hue after a toy company reportedly refused to produce toys with the color due to the popularity of another yellow figurine that was apparently a hot seller at the time. Despite the change, the deal with the toy company ended up falling through, making the whole ordeal a little unnecessary. Personally, I think the change was for the best. I think it would feel a little too much like Springfield if Rocko and Heifer were both yellow. Then there's the broadcast version, which would be the version most familiar to anyone growing up during that time. While the differences between the broadcast version and the original pilot were mostly cosmetic, there were some extra scenes created for the broadcast version to help stretch it from 8 minutes to the 11-minute mark standard for animated network shows of the time. And while these scenes are minor, their inclusion really added the additional framework needed to take Rocko's Modern Life into the unbridled surreal experience that we've come to love. We see the outside of Rocko's house as it turns from night to day. Rocko's trash can violently shakes before Earl the bulldog pops out. Where Spunky is depicted as generally dim-witted with a single-track mind and incapable of autonomy most of the time, Earl, on the other hand, plays the polar opposite. He's ruthless, cunning, and possibly a little rabid. Despite Earl not appearing very often as a character in the show and even disappearing entirely after the third season, there's definitely a sense that he was planned to play a much larger role in the show's original concept. He appears as a prominent antagonist in the retro platformer Spunky's Dangerous Day and appears in every single opening of the show, chasing Rocko down in the streets of O-Town. One throwaway line in the episode gives Earl a backstory ripe with potential from the very beginning of the series.
Spunky, Earl escaped from the science lab again.
Unfortunately, Earl Stantz would have to wait nearly 2 years before the show expanded upon this idea in a later Season 2 episode. A backstory that we'll explore in a different video in the future more than likely. Given that he slept in there all night, he may just be living exclusively in Rocko's trash can. He starts his day off by chugging a bottle of weed killer before we pan in to see the start of Rocko's day. Even the scene of Rocko waking up diverges a bit between the two versions. In the broadcast version, Rocko awakens to his alarm screaming at him, whereas in the original pilot, Rocko's sleep is interrupted by the sound of Spunky's stomach. Which, with context, explains why Rocko's first line of the episode is,
Oh, Spunky, I'm too hungry to dance.
I never really gave this line much consideration, but Rocko still says it despite Spunky's musical stomach being entirely reanimated and replaced for the broadcast version. Picking up a family photo, Rocko reminisces about the home cooking he left behind in Australia. Taking a closer look at the family portrait gives us a lot of detail in just a few frames. From Rocko's mom's tall purple hair to presumably Rocko's sibling not sitting still for the photo, to Rocko's dad being more concerned with the cost of the photo bill than he is with living in the moment with the rest of his family. While these traits are pretty stereotypical of your classic sitcom family archetype, I kind of wish we had gotten some more genuine experiences between Rocko and the family that could have been. Rocko and Spunky's food-filled daydream is broken by the sound of a garbage truck rolling down the street.
They must have got their license back.
It's been 6 months since the last trash pickup. Trash isn't just piled around the house either, but across the whole neighborhood. The garbage rats waste no time clearing through the neighborhood as they steamroll over anything and everything in their way, including Rocko's car. In a scene added for the broadcast version, we see the garbage rats roll up Rocko's now flattened car and toss it in the back of the garbage truck, along with some nearby trash cans. This added scene totally scuffs the continuity on the next scene since you could still see the smashed car in the background, and reasonably wouldn't those have been Rocko's trash cans, along with Earl, that just got discarded? For sanity's sake, let's assume one of Rocko's neighbors used to have the same car as him, and maybe that wasn't his car that was smashed to begin with. Either way, regardless of continuity or not, the addition of the scene does some very specific things that really establish the O-Town world around Rocko. I can't tell if it's their job to do this or if they're more of an army of hoarders obsessed with having everyone else's garbage. Along with the reanimated alarm clock scene, the broadcast version leans really heavily into anthropomorphizing the everyday objects of the world, a trend that is surprisingly absent from the original pilot version, despite it being such an important part of Rocko's absurd and surrealist identity. As Rocko and Spunky rush to bag up as much garbage from around the house as they can, we see Earl peeking through the window, before sneaking off screen in a Wile E. Coyote plotting type of fashion. Another added scene to the broadcast version shows Earl sharpening his teeth in preparation for whatever he's got planned. Meanwhile, we get a look at the Sucko-matic from the Sucker for the Sucko-matic episode that I covered in my third video. It's a lot less menacing in this version than how we would be introduced to it in that episode as well. Sucker for the Sucko-matic was originally planned to be the pilot episode for the show. It was even written and pitched to Nickelodeon. According to Joe Murray himself, the higher-ups liked the script, but apparently found Heifer to be a little off-putting. Fortunately, Joe Murray held his ground and opted to write a new episode rather than ditch Heifer entirely. On the topic of that green-haired cow, both Heifer and Earl made brief appearances with original concept designs in a 1989 MTV bumper animated by Joe Murray. See if you can catch any other similarities. And boom, there's Heifer, and there's Earl. And what's quite clearly an early concept of what would become the now iconic intro for Rocko's modern life as a whole. Moving on to the kitchen, Rocko begins cleaning his fridge of old food, and by the looks of it, some of the stuff may have been in there for a little longer than 6 months.
Oh dear.
The kitchen scene saw the most change between the original pilot and the broadcast version. Extending the shot on the Buy War Bonds label, spending more time on the slime inside the container itself, and even new additions altogether.
Ew, bad sausage.
However, the most notable change to broadcast was the slime itself. Originally written as an inanimate object, the broadcast version of the episode gave the slime full autonomy as it evades and taunts Spunky in the now added cat and mouse sequence throughout the kitchen. And while its ink blasting defense mechanism exists in both versions, the broadcast version gave the slime an extra power, where it grows exponentially in size after coming in contact with water. Kind of like gremlins, except growing instead of multiplying. Much like the garbage truck eating the car earlier, this is another small detail that becomes so important to the world building by ramping up that absurdity. Both versions synchronize up again when Rocko inevitably forces Spunky to spit the slime out. Undeterred though, Spunky follows Rocko and the slime, getting mixed in with the rest of the trash pile in his pursuit. Rocko throws the whole pile into a trash compactor, which really feels like an appliance Rocko should use more often. Despite the end result this time being just a Spunky-shaped cube, the Chinese takeout option is so efficient. You would think a bunch of smaller cubes would be far more manageable than his current idea of cleaning the house. Rushing to get the trash out before he misses trash day entirely, Rocko races for the front door, where he's met by Earl. In the original pilot, we cut straight to Rocko on the roof, using a fishing rod to try and deliver the cube of trash to the garbage truck parked out front. Rocko, of course, not realizing that Spunky ended up in the trash compactor along with the rest of the garbage. However, in the broadcast version, a few added scenes add the setup that was absent from the pilot. Opting to try the back door instead, Rocko's again met by Earl, and we see Rocko scramble up the stairs and rush to a bedroom closet where he pulls out the fishing rod before heading to the roof.
Big dog. Big ferocious dog.
Realizing he's moments away from throwing away his own dog,
We're shaking, aren't we, Spunky? Spunky?
Rocko frantically tries to reel Spunky back in. Taking advantage of the moment, Earl uses Spunky as a way to scale the building and reach the roof.
Garbage day is a very dangerous day.
Abandoning all fear, Rocko confronts Earl to retrieve Spunky. And this might be like the third or fourth time this season that Rocko has saved Spunky from getting eaten. Not counting the vacuum, of course. Rocko approaches this confrontation as he does with many others. He starts by trying to appeal to logic and reason, and if that fails, he offers a substitute or alternative. I mean, he's fairly reasonable, a timid wallaby, but when all else fails, he's almost certainly going to be the first one to jump to violence. I'd argue that violence isn't the best move to make, but more often than not, it's a process that manages to work out for Rocko. Sometimes. This, however, is not one of those times.
Good as new.
Hey, that line is used in the theme song.
Good as new.
And in addition to this line, Rocko's scream when he first opens the door and encounters Earl was also sampled into the theme song. Earl spits Spunky out and focuses his attention on Rocko, beating him to a pulp off screen. And here's a fun one. In the original pilot, Carlos Ellis Rocky voiced every single character, which means Rocko is getting mauled by his own voice actor. After Earl's finished with Rocko, presumably out of boredom, Rocko manages to collect Spunky and return to the safety of his house. With some creative uses of a bicycle pump and a rolling pin, Spunky is restored to his former glory. Small detail worth noting here, while the broadcast version swapped out pretty much all of the original music and sound design, this scene is the one exception. The music you're hearing in this moment is Marshall Crutcher's original score from the pilot. Pat Irwin handled the music for the broadcast version and would continue scoring the show for the rest of the series. Winding down in the bath after the chaos of the day, Rocko admits to Spunky that he's not really all that upset about missing garbage day.
Since I'm on my own now, you're all I got.
Given that Rocko is out here in O-Town and America for the first time as an adult without his parents, he's genuinely more concerned about losing Spunky than anything else. It's a brief moment, but it's the one that feels the most like the show we're about to get. And even from the original pilot, my favorite trope about Rocko still rings true. Any win he does get will still be offset by losing, again and again. It's almost always going to be a net negative at the end of the day. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more Rocko's Modern Life, I have a playlist in the description down below with every episode that I've covered so far. So please be sure to check that out if that's something that interests you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.